S went in there and hammered the whammy challenge in 4 minutes, Luke's.
How does that happen?
I don't
I don't
know.
understand it. Like, where are they putting it?
Right.
The hot dog guy. Like, where is it going?
Hey, I get to the point every now and then where I let myself, I'm like, I want to eat a lot tonight. Like maybe it's a Friday night,
Okay.
And I still can't eat a lot. But I couldn't even dream of doing half of this. By the way, she won $1,000 when she
Wow.
yeah. And she told the owner who I was interviewing yesterday, she went, I'll go double or nothing. And I'll do it again. And I'll do it in less than 4 minutes. And he said, I almost took the bet. And I realized how confident she was because she would have been able to do it again. How about that?
Wow. In the same sitting? Like, not coming back, just like right now, do it again?
Yeah, same. And she was on her way to Birmingham to do a pizza challenge. And she told Steven Soller, who's the owner of Burgers Blues Barbecue, she said, now, if I do this again, if we double down and I do it again, I'm going to move the pizza challenge to tomorrow. And I was, and look, I saw a picture of her. She's a tiny woman, 5'5", like maybe $130, Luke's. How about that? Crazy.
I forgot the science behind this.
Yeah, see, that's what I was. How do you train anyway? I'm my mind. I think Wendy already tells me it's good that I do this show because it's kind of like a brain dump every day because I talk to myself and I think all these things and crazy pills and stuff. But I don't understand how you train for this and how you can do that. We'll try to segue out of smashing burgers to SEC football. We've got a really good topic for Luke today. I mean, this fits right in his wheelhouse. So for our listeners, I think most of you know this, Tom Luginbill calls games every week throughout football season. The overwhelming majority of the time he's on the field. However, he's been in the booth and so on. And, of course, he's been a studio analyst. Well, we were talking about storming the field. So I would like to know from you, what is the biggest game, or I get either biggest game or biggest upset? You can share whatever you want. But in your career at ESPN, because you've been a part of some unbelievable football games, what's the biggest game or biggest upset where the students and fans storm the field, Luke's?
Probably of the game that I was a part of, it would have been Ohio State, Michigan, when J.T. Barrett got hurt. Cardell Jones comes in. They don't miss a beat, and they somehow pull out that win. Now, if you recall, that was the year they won the national championship with their third-string quarterback. Because remember, it went from Braxton Miller to J.T. Barrett. They play in Michigan. They're at home. Michigan is handling them pretty good. They're struggling. Ohio State is. Barrett goes down. Cardell Jones comes in and plays lights out. It was crazy. And then we all know what else happened. But that was a pretty good field storming. But I will say this. Last year I had the Duke-Clemson game on Labor Day night. And I don't know if you remember this. So Duke, of course, upsets Clemson. Clemson was a top 10 preseason ranked team. Duke beats them. But on that day, and it's on the internet, you can see it. And I cannot for the life of me understand why they allowed it. But maybe even more surprising was how responsible the students were. So with 3 minutes left to go in the game, they let the entire student section, or how many of them could get, onto the field with 3 minutes to go in the game. So I'm standing on the sideline, and all of a sudden I just feel all this momentum behind me. And I look behind me and to my left and my right, and I am literally surrounded by thousands of Duke students. And they, not one time during that 3 minutes until the game was over, did a single student even step a toe across the white. I couldn't believe it. It was the most well-behaved, well-trained field stormers of all time. So I'm sitting there going, okay, this is so typical of the smart kids, right? Like, I would assume that, like, this is what Vandy's kids would do. This is what Wake's kids would do. This is what Stanford and Northwestern's kids
I
would do.
love it.
They were, like, ridiculously behaved. But then it started to dawn on me, okay, I got to get to that handshake. And normally when there's going to be a field storm, I have a head start. Because when the clock goes to 0, I'm already sprinting to the coaches, and the fans are just now, or the students are just now jumping over the railing to get onto the field, right? They're right there with me, like a foot from me. So I had to go and outrun all of these 1,600 ACT kids, right, who are clearly students and not athletes, because I outran every single one of them in cowboy boots and got to the handshake and didn't have any problem with the students.
I remember this. I remember why, because there was a build-up. Tom Luginbill on the Out of Bounds show.
Build-up.
There was a build-up, and your colleagues were talking about it because we all saw you with all the students behind you, and it, you know, those last 3 minutes lasted a while. So y'all were talking about, yeah, that was, now that you lay it out like that, they were calm, you know, for.
It's unbelievable. There's a video of it. If you Google it, there's a video of it. Not a still shot. There's a video of it. It's from our broadcast. And I'm on the opposite sideline, so the camera's on the TV side looking down at me. I'm on, like, the left, probably 30, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. But you can see all the students just hanging out.
Yeah.
Nobody's pushing and shoving. Like, nobody's itching to get onto the field. Nothing. It was strange. Now, I had another one while we're on this topic.
Yeah.
The day after Thanksgiving in Dallas, at TCU, remember that run Art Briles had at Baylor where they were really, really good?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and then TCU was really, really good. And Baylor played at TCU Friday night of Thanksgiving week. It was an ABC game. We were the only game on in the middle of an ice storm. And Baylor was like a top 12 team. TCU, I think they were top 20, but they were not the favorite on this day. And ice and just cold rain is dropping out of the sky. It is freezing. I mean, it was like, I can handle snow and I can handle cold. When you give like wet cold, that's a whole nother dimension, right? So I'm out there in this, and TCU upsets them. And the whole place, you could not fit another fan on the field. It was from corner to corner, edge to edge, like solid. So I get to the handshake, and the only way to do the interview is with the Skycam, because our handheld camera can't get there because he's dragging, 100 feet of cable, heavy cable. So from a safety perspective, they call him off. So now I'm on my own. So I got to get to this thing, and then I'm listening in my ear, and I'm having to get to the handshake, get the coach, let the production truck know I've got him. They're trying to relay to me what camera to look at. I can't hear him. I can't see anything. And then finally I just hear my ear, Skycam. And I look up, and it's right above me. So at least now I know how to direct it. But it was insanity. I mean, it was absolute insanity on that day. Those are fun moments, man. I mean, they really are.
Yeah. So Tom Luginbill, who's on the field 99% of the time, is sharing some of the big games where students and fans have stormed the field. He mentioned Ohio State and Michigan when J.T. Barrett got knocked out and Cardell Jones was inserted into the game, and they didn't miss a beat, and they came back and beat Michigan. He also taught Duke Clemson last year, which I remember that game. That was a standalone game on Monday of Labor Day weekend, and then the one Baylor and TCU. So the Ohio State Michigan game, Luke's, how difficult was it to get to Urban Meyer after the game to do the post game?
Actually pretty easy, because the way the horseshoe is set up, that front row of the very bottom bowl is way back from the field. Because if you remember watching old school, not even that much old school. I mean, it was up until the John Cooper years, but they used to have a track around that field.
Oh,
That was a multi-purpose stadium.
okay.
So what they did is they took the track out, they sunk it down, added another row of lower bowl, but they're still, I don't know, 10 yards, 12 yards from the sideline. They're set back pretty good. So that was an easy one. The only time you get worried about stuff is if the fans can beat you there.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the stadium and crowd control, like, that's why I was so surprised at Duke. I was like, why didn't anybody stop this? Like, nobody, there was no security, there were no yellow coats, there was no nothing. It was weird.
And you interviewed Elko, who's now the A&M coach.
Yeah.
You interviewed Elko after they upset top 10 Clemson last year on Labor Day. Is that right?
Yeah, so here's just another little funny story about this. Like, there are actual logistics to this. And, over 10 years of being a field analyst down there, it didn't take me long to figure out that, all right, so let's just say that you have an upset like we had for Clemson and Duke. All right, so now there's probably going to be a field storming. You got to get to the handshake. But you have to kind of make a calculated guess. What is the winning coach that just upset Clemson? What is Mike Elko going to do? Is he going to sprint to the handshake because he's still exuberant? Okay? And if he does that, that means I basically make a beeline for the center of the field. Okay? But the problem was Mike Elko didn't do that. Mike Elko got jumped on and hugged and spent a bunch of time shaking hands and hugging players, and he didn't run out to the middle of the field. So I couldn't find him. So when I finally realized he's actually got past me, and I'll text you the video of it. When you watch me, because our camera crew, they were having fun with me, and it was all over social media. All of a sudden I realized, because I'm on camera, the whole thing, I'm sprinting out to the field, and I realized, I've miscalculated my angle here. And now Elko's gotten past me. So I'm running out there. I'm thinking I'm going right to, and he's not going to the handshake the way I thought he would. So now he's got past me. So I have to take like a 90-degree turn to my left, but now I've got to get through players.
Oh.
So I'm banging around, bing, boom, throwing elbows, running you can watch, like I toss the tight end over to the side. I'm like jumping over the shoulder pads, and
you played football at Georgia Tech, so you went back into college football mode.
I did. I went back into college football mode. What was so funny is when you watch it at the very end of it, when I finally come barreling through, I almost knocked one of the state trooper security guys right over because my momentum carried me, and he turns around and snaps at me, and I immediately hold up my microphone. So he's like, "Oh, okay, get in here." Then he helps you. He helps you get in. But it's a good one. It's a good one. You know what I'm going to do? I'll send it to you, and I know you post a lot of this stuff on social media, and while we're talking about this, you can post that with it.
Yes.
It was a pretty cool thing.
Tom Luginbill, national college football analyst with ESPN on the Out of Bounds show, brought to you by the Purple Mattress from any of the Muskelly sleep stores. So, what's the most, contentious, I guess, interview you've done either at halftime or after the game with a coach who's mad as hell and he doesn't want to talk to you, or anybody for that matter? It wouldn't matter who you were.
That would, without question, be Mark D'Antonio. But here's the asterisk to this. Mark D'Antonio, you could have told Mark D'Antonio he has won a trip to the Exuma, Bahamas, all expenses paid, take his whole family down there, private jet, private boat charter. You could tell him that. And his reaction and his facial expression would be the exact same as if he'd just gotten beat by Michigan 35-0. There's never any type of emotion, good or bad. He just comes off as if he's mad all the time. And I don't really think that he is, but it makes it a difficult interview because you're trying to draw out some personality. and it's just not going to happen. And for whatever reason, our crew from like 2013 to probably like 2017.
Oh yeah, they were good.
18,
Yeah,
they were really good, and so we would get them on ABC a lot. And he's actually great to deal with, but there's just like, I mean, there's no personality. So he comes off mad and grumpy, and it makes like a hard interview. I caught Dan Mullen one time when he was at Florida. They're playing at Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt and Florida get into like a full-blown brawl.
Yeah.
Because who was his defensive coordinator?
Todd Grantham.
Mississippi. So Todd Grantham.
Yeah, that guy's wired hot.
Sandy at the time. Todd Grantham and Derek Mason apparently do not like each other.
Oh, I love it. Tell me more.
At all. I don't know why. I don't know where it stems from. They do not like each other.
Huh.
So Grantham and some Florida guys were chipping at some Vanderbilt guys. Then it turns into like fights. And then Derek Mason comes across the field. So like now the officials got to step in the whole 9 yards. And that was an odd interview going into the locker room because it was right at the end of the second quarter. Because I couldn't get Dan Mullen to focus on like the actual. He's so heated and wound up over what just happened.
I remember.
You do? Do you remember that?
I remember that.
It was nuts, man. I mean,
Dan was mad as hell.
He was so mad. He was so mad that I couldn't get him to respond to questions as.
Well, he looked over his left shoulder like he
wanted
wanted to bark at somebody else while you were trying to talk to him.
Yeah, absolutely. But I've been very fortunate. I've never had a coach get upset with me or angry with me, except for one time we came really, really close. So we're at Nebraska, and Bo Pelini's the coach.
Oh, talking about running hot. Tell me more.
Okay, running hot, but actually a great dude.
Okay.
If you sat in a bar with him, if you sat at a dinner table with him, if you were just hanging out, he's freaking awesome. And by the way, if you actually go back and look at the job he did there, he averaged just under 10 wins a season. And he kind of got fired, not for not winning enough, but for who he lost to.
Oh,
he would always
he shouldn't have been let go.
He'd lose to Minnesota, or he'd lose like that. That's what ultimately that and his personality got it right. So, and I so badly want to name the person that did this, but I'm not going to do it because I'm not going to stoop to that level because he's done it before and he almost got me. But we're in our production coaches meeting. Do you remember Taylor Martinez, the quarterback, Nebraska?
Yeah.
3 or 4 year starter. Okay. So Taylor Martinez is injured. It's Nebraska at Wisconsin. No, I take that back. It's Nebraska at Minnesota. So we're on the road. We're at the Nebraska hotel. We're having our production meeting, our broadcast crew, the defense coordinator, the offense coordinator, Bo Pelini. And he looks at all of us because we have to ask the question. You have to say, hey, listen, are there any injuries that we need to know about? Is somebody not playing? Are you getting somebody back? With the understanding that it does not leave that room. And it doesn't. Because what's the upside for us to spill that? We're never going to get trusted again.
Right.
Right? So there is no upside for us to do that. And we don't want to do that. We're not looking to wreck anybody here. Right? But we got to prep. We got to know, and especially at the quarterback position. So Taylor Martinez had been injured. And Bo looks at all of us and says, listen, we are going to get Taylor back. He is going to start tomorrow. We think he's, 100% or as close to 100% good to go. But please, of course, we want that to stay in this room. We all nod our head, of course. Thank you so much for telling us. We really appreciate that. Blah, 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 blah. Later on in the day, we all get back to our hotel. We've had dinner. We get back to the hotel, turn the TV on. And on the bottom of the clicker, one of our college football reporters reports that Nebraska quarterback Taylor Martinez is set to start the next day.
Oh, no.
Guess who has to do a game day interview with Bo Pelini first thing the next morning?
Oh, no.
So I'm sitting there going, oh, goodness gracious. Now our producer is literally cannot express enough to the SID to relay to Bo that this was not us. None of us said anything. None of us told anybody. None of us went to the news desk. None of us went to the ticker. And our name is not tied to it. Okay? So, but what is Bo Pelini naturally going to think?
BS.
So, exactly. So I'm waiting in the hallway as they get off their bus. They're coming in to go get in the locker room, and I've got to do my game day interview with Bo Pelini. And I see him walking down the hall. And he sees me. And I'm just going, oh, no. Oh, no. He walks up, and he puts his hand, like, on my shoulder. And I'm going, oh, God. And he looks at me, and he says, I know it wasn't you. I do know who it was, but I know it wasn't you.
Oh.
And the amount of air that left my lungs when he said that would have been one of the greatest feelings of relief, because you never want to break a trust any way, shape, or form. Right?
No.
And that was a close one. That was a close one.
Man, that was fun. That was fun. Storming the field.
I'm going to send you the video, by the way. I'm going to send you the
Yes, please do. Have a great week, my man. Thank you.
Will do. Thank you. See you.
Tom Luginbill with ESPN on the Out of Bounds Show and the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. Don't forget, all this week at Burgers Blues Barbecue. And they're open in Dogwood, Flowwood, half off honey butter chicken biscuits if you mention Bow Bounds or Out of Bounds. Good morning. Welcome in. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. We'll talk a little college baseball as Nate Doan pitched last night for Mississippi State. They beat North Alabama. And Southern Miss comes back after being down 4-1 to beat the Ole Miss Rebels. The show is brought to you by the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook and Lounge, an award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club.